So we've made 3 videos about different viral kids' toys within the last year, which is 3 more than I think I ever thought I would make in my life, honestly. But all of these stories seem eerily similar in a few key ways. But there is one part of this that I really wanted to understand a bit better. Why are adults buying children's toys? Because it's not just like a little bit, it's happening a lot. We saw this with the Labubu's, we saw it with Neatos and mystery dumplings, and it's happening with jelly cats, and it's also happening with these weird squishy looking baby things. The people lined up outside of stores are adults. The people making viral videos about these things are adults. If you look through the subreddits for almost any viral toy trend in the past couple of years, you will see a community of mostly adults discussing the delivery schedules and latest releases like it's the final week of the NFL draft or something. Now, in some cases, of course, there's going to be parents who are buying the toys for the kids. This is definitely a part of this story, but it is not the part that we want to talk about today. Never before have we seen so many adult influencers promoting and collecting children's toys. Adult people buying out Pokemon cards to resell online. And of course, people buying these toys to heal their inner child. We have covered more than a few of these toy trends at this point, and I think when you start seeing a pattern for something like this, it's important to take a step back and take a look at the broader context to understand why things are going the way that they are.
At Five Below, they're making like squishy toy babies, but they look like fetuses. Like they're the size of like a fetus.
Oh. Oh no. Oh God. Now, of course, I think we need to clarify that adults have been interested in children's toys for a long time. Pokemon had an adult following, but you could maybe argue that the game aspect might have contributed to the more sophisticated clientele. But products like fidget spinners and Tamagotchis and Beanie Babies have always had some kind of appeal amongst adults, because what makes something appealing for a kid also makes it appealing for adults too. Interesting and colorful collectible characters don't stop being interesting and collectible just because you turn a certain age. Apparently, as many as 35% of adults purchased a toy for themselves in 2025, and the phenomenon seems to be getting only more common as time goes on. So I think the true difference today from, say, 10 or 15 years ago is that today toy and game companies have created more addictive toys through manipulative marketing tactics, and that are making kids and adults more likely to buy than ever before. Scarcity marketing is everywhere now, and it's amplified hugely by the internet. Videos of people lined up outside of department stores pushing each other out of the way and fighting each other just to get a handle on these toys make people feel like they're missing out, which leads them to go out to the stores to try and find them for themselves, which creates the loop which makes the situation worse. On top of this, collecting has become an entrepreneurial venture, with scalpers buying up stock and reselling products online just to make a quick buck. And blind box packaging gives people the incentive to compulsively buy until they find the rare or special version of the thing that they're trying to find. Add on the nostalgia of a lot of these products, or the sensory or tactile elements that some of these toys employ, and it's easy to see why people have gravitated to these toys in the ways that they have. Listen, it's not that adults are buying kids' toys. It's that the toys of today have been specifically designed to hack into our psychology so that we keep buying more of them. But I think we need to talk about some of the most egregious players in this whole story. Now, probably the most easy demographic to explain in all of this is the scalpers. These are grown-ass adults buying out entire shelves of products for the sole purpose of making money through reselling online. In this category, I will also include influencers who capitalize and monetize the scarcity of these toys and create content about their unboxing on the internet. Today, There's a legitimate business model around the buying and reselling of viral products on the internet. You know, having a global marketplace connected through easy payment services and shipping services makes this a side hustle that basically anyone can do from their couch. But if you add on the social media layer, it just makes way more sense. In every single one of these viral toy trends, the most viral kind of video that exists about them is the one where the creator unboxes the most of that thing, right? It's all about scale. The internet has to be the most extreme version of whatever it is that you're talking about. These videos just further feed into the hyper-consumerism loop that these toys are built upon. These videos show that the way that you consume these products is mindlessly, that it is about quantity, not quality. There are hundreds of thousands of videos out there that basically just say, buy more stuff, in more or less words. But the scalpers and the influencers aren't the people who keep these trends alive. They might be the loudest, the greediest, but they are just the tip of the iceberg, which is actually made up of mostly normal people who become enthralled with the energy and chaos that these cycles create.
But I saw this video of like 500 people lined up outside of a Target. The person in the video is like, what the hell are these people lined up for? And the people in the comments are like, oh, Pokemon cards. And then other people are like, oh, Nitos. And then other people are like, oh yeah, dumplings. And it's like, oh, yeah. There's so many of like, we do not have like the filling capacity for all of these different people in all of these like trends that were decided based on specific data for specific niche audiences and perfectly printed the right amount so that they would have the most amount of value.
We're now layering these trends on top of each other to the point where you don't even know, like eventually you're not even gonna know what you're lining up for. You just line up so that when you get in, you can be first to whatever the new trend is. Nobody actually cares. It's like, oh, well, it's this plushy thing that came in a box. Oh no, I wanted the plushy thing that comes in a dumpling thing.
And then the person buying the thing that comes in a dumpling box is looking at the person buying the baby and thinking, that idiot, that doesn't have any real value. And then the person buying the Pokemon cards is like, that guy buying the dumplings is such a dumbass. They don't have any real values like these things do.
This is what the internet and data harvesting has created. The fact that companies know all of your scrolling behavior, all of your buying behaviors, and they can funnel specific kinds of content to you based on your history. That's why these things are blowing up in popularity, because they can find the kinds of people who do watch through an entire episode or an entire video of Nitos or whatever, and they can just hammer the living shit out of them with viral videos of Nitos getting scrambled for, to the point that they then decide that this is a worthwhile endeavor for them to go and join on the herd. You don't get that without the internet. It doesn't exist without the internet.
Firstly, of course, there are the parents who are just being strung along trend to trend by their children, who are way more susceptible to this kind of thing. This is probably not a demographic of person that really falls into what we're talking about today, but it is a very real situation. You can find dozens of posts from various parents on all of these subreddits asking people for help so that they can try and find one of these toys for their kids. But there are a lot of adults out there buying the stuff on their own accord, and it's so much worse. I think in many cases, and I'm speculating here a little bit, people who are chronically online, who don't have the social circles or critical thinking skills to know otherwise, genuinely think that the latest toy trend is something that they need. Like, we know, for example, that being online all the time will make you feel disconnected and lonely, right? We actually learned about this specifically while reading The Anxious Generation for our Discord book club. It has been a while since I have read a book with this much intention, and it has actually been a very rewarding process. The author, Jonathan Haidt, spells out in pretty stark detail how social media and smartphones have created a sort of social barrier between us and the real world. Yeah, look at this. So in this graph, you can see daily time with friends by age group precipitously dropping over the years. That gray band in the middle is like the advent of social media and smartphones. So between 2010 and 2015, basically we see social media and smartphones become ubiquitous across our culture. And that directly correlates to a massive decline in the amount of time that people spend with their friends. And this has a whole bunch of knock-on effects that he talks about in depth in this book. If you've never been in a book club, it is kind of a fun thing. This is my first time being in a book club with anyone, and it's cool to read a book with the understanding that you are going to be discussing it with other people. I think the internet has made it so easy to get access to information, but it has not made it particularly easy to discuss things with nuance, and that's what this Discord group was kind of all about. We wanted to make a space online that felt more positive, where people could kind of communicate in a slightly more normal way on the internet, to be able to discuss things in more detail than a comment section can typically provide. So if you want to join that group or just support the channel and what we're making here, you can check out our Patreon page down below in the description. We also post exclusive content over there. We have early access to all of our videos, and you can have real conversations with us about the nuance of our online world. Because the thing is, when you're online all the time and your life is stressful and overwhelming, these toys bring you a sort of fleeting but exhilarating sense of relief. And on top of that, you then earn a sort of symbolic connection to others who also own these fuzzy little things. This is the full loop of consumerism that I don't think a lot of people truly see. So much of the mindless consumption of viral trends and products that we see nowadays is just an attempt to find the community or that village connection that we've lost over the years. I think a lot of people are realizing that as a result of being overworked and underpaid, we no longer have the time or the energy to meaningfully see other people in the real world. So the social connections and the relationships that we used to have in the real world are now being replaced by social media, which we know makes us more stressed and anxious. And the solution that you do see over and over and over again is a product that is on your newsfeed. This CNN article says that this big wave of adults buying children's toys can actually be traced back to the pandemic, which kind of makes sense. This was a time when people were suddenly very lonely and chronically online in ways that we kind of hadn't been before. And this is just carried on in the years since. We were all looking to spend our time doing something that actually brought us joy and whimsy, rather than devoting all of our time to the work cycle that we were stuck in. And you have to understand that the American consumer mind has been trained for this their whole lives. This is an entire culture and worldview that has been built around the stuff that you own or do not own. Your self-worth is defined by your ability to consume what other people are consuming. You buy the latest toy trend that's gone viral because that's what is normal to do. This is why we also see people self-medicating through consumerism. We talked about the healing your inner child trend that we've seen cropping up with a lot of these toy trends, basically where people go into department stores to buy all the toys that they weren't allowed to have or afford when they were a child. They are very literally trying to buy the childhood that they never had. And that's exactly what these companies want you to do. Check out this quote from the UK Toys and Eurotoys director. He says, "More toy manufacturers are starting to look at the kidult space as an opportunity. Disney invented the Disney adult. And so finally, honestly, it's taken a long time, but the toy companies are getting on board with the same idea. Because the problem is, it requires real introspection and work to fix childhood trauma. Buying things that you weren't able to have as a kid might be soothing or validating for a second, but it's not gonna fix your problem. Hence the need to constantly go out and buy more of them.
Honestly, this is kind of the other side of the coin with AI. There's the AI that is like LLMs and stuff like that. But the other side of AI is just interpreting raw data, like viewership data and purchasing data and consumer data, and being able to pump out a product that's perfectly tailored to those expectations. Like the CJ Hendry person, their like flagship Labubu toy, which is like this bunny looking thing, was just AI generated because the artist put in a picture of a Labubu and like a picture of several other blind box toys and was like, make something that looks like this. And it came up with a mock-up drawing and they produced it, and then it became a Labubu.
And I think that that's the value of the toy culture as well, is that it is so meaningless It is so, it's like AI slop in the real world. The Nidos and the dumpling drops they're all just AI garbage in the real world, because it's just something that you see and you go, whoa, what is that? And then move on. It's so void of any sort of real material connection to the real world. And that's why they can just keep producing it like crazy, because it's cheap to make. It has literally no conceptual reality that it's tied to. So you're just like, oh yeah, this blob, that blob. Okay.
But I think the disconnection from the material world is kind of what helps people not really care about where it's from.
Or where it's going.
Or where it's going. 10 years ago, people were really concerned about what the working conditions were of the people producing their jeans and what happens to those jeans after their life cycle. But because people are so alienated from the production process of these things, not a single person has thought about like what 12-year-old child is producing a Labubu in a factory somewhere. No. It's just pure consumption. It is pure consumption. Yeah. And a kind of blinding fog around what happens before and after the consumption process. And
of course, look, I gotta do a caveat here. The research does show in some cases that fidget toys and stress balls can help some individuals emotionally regulate themselves. Yes, that is true. Sensory toys and comfort objects are proven aids for people with some problems. But we have to be honest with ourselves when we are purchasing these things, because, you know, one Squishmallow might help. 30 is overkill. You don't need more than one of these things, realistically. But there's a final layer to this. A lot of the children toy phenomenon that we're seeing is a reaction to the stress of our everyday lives. Because, I don't know if you know this, but we are living in unprecedented times. These toys are just a reaction to the stress of, you know, Donald Trump's latest war, or the latest money grab by the elites, or the fact that climate change is destroying the environment, or that every institution that we've built over the last 50 years seems to be crumbling. These toys remind us of a time in our lives where not only were these problems not our responsibility, but we didn't even know that they existed. So the next time that you are drawn to one of these toy trends, or you see people lining up for them, I hope that you have a bit more nuanced understanding as to why. Please don't be hard on yourself or others who find themselves in these kinds of situations. And if you like this kind of content, subscribe or support us on Patreon, and we'll be here every single week for another episode.